Good morning. Okay, so George Soros is this foreign-born left-wing guy who essentially wants to change the nature of our country.
Hey, what's going on, folks? We have a great show for you today. The CNN host that took on Donald Trump yesterday at the town hall has had some Fox News clips resurfacing of her criticizing George Soros and, in her words, his open border policy.
Was about the refugee crisis, and they made 3 points. They think that they've been successful at influencing immigration policy across the world.
We're going to watch and react to those clips. It's interesting. And then we're going to talk about the border crisis, which is now hitting Chicago, and the residents are not happy.
South Shore residents responded with resounding rejection.
Governor of Texas said that Texas has bused over 17,000 migrants to sanctuary cities, over 9,200 to D.C., over 5,700 to New York City, over 1,600 to Chicago, and over 925 to Philadelphia. We're going to watch those clips and react to that as well. It's going to be a great show, folks. God bless you. Show starts now.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's episode of the Dream Rare Podcast. I have a pretty long, extensive podcast. I want to talk about what's going on with the border because they're starting to bus a lot of migrants to cities, and the cities are not happy. This might actually change public perception on illegal immigration. But before we do that, I know yesterday's little spectacle circus, like the CNN Trump thing, everybody's talking about it, and I saw this clip go viral, so I have to play it. This is the CNN host in all white who was fighting Trump. This is an old clip of her surfacing on Fox News. You're going to get a kick out of it.
From our nation's capital. Caitlin, what does that mean? What's George Soros trying to do with the immigration crisis?
Good morning. Okay, so George Soros is this foreign-born left-wing guy who essentially wants to change the nature of our country.
Whoa, that sounds like hate speech to me. Let's continue. What did she say? He was a foreign-born guy who wants to change the shape of our country. Whoa, excuse me, CNN lady. This is quite the clip. Let's continue.
And in this data dump, one of the memos was about the refugee crisis. And they made 3 points. They think that they've been successful at influencing immigration policy across the world.
Let's continue.
They think that the refugee crisis is an opportunity to continue doing so. And they think the refugee crisis is the new normal. And George Soros is this guy who is a staunch advocate for open borders.
Is he? I don't know. That kind of sounds anti-Semitic to me. Let me continue though. I disavow what she's saying here, the CNN lady that was on Fox.
He wants people to be able to go wherever they want, whenever they want, for whatever reason. And for him, he sees this immigration policy, this crisis, as a vehicle to further his immigration agenda.
Wow. So I have a few things to say before we move on to the border crisis that's going on and how they're busing people. A lot of Chicago residents are upset. But before I move on, I want to say this. So do you think she did like a Men in Black, erasing her memory? Like, you know, now she's just a totally different person on CNN and she doesn't even remember what she thought about George Soros and his open immigration policy or whatever. Do you think she just took the job at CNN because it's more money? The same way if you worked for Coke and you like Coke better than Pepsi, but Pepsi pays you more, you go work for Pepsi. A lot of engineers, scientists, a lot of people in all fields, they work for companies they don't believe in because they just make more money. I would argue that most of the country does that. So this idea that a news anchor might do that, it's not surprising. What do you think? Do you think she had some sort of liberal awakening or she's just playing a role? I'll tell you what I think. I think the whole thing's a circus, and I have to give credit. I think Ben Shapiro made an interesting point on Twitter about the whole Trump CNN thing. Me and Ben don't always agree, but I did agree with him here. He said, you know, this was a win for CNN. It was obviously a win for Trump, but one angle that I did miss yesterday where I said I get the deal that they made. It's like the audience liked Trump. CNN got to push back. CNN got ratings. They got to put that lady there to counter him, but the crowd was on Trump's side. CNN's ratings go up. Trump gets to air something on CNN where he gets semi-favorable coverage with the crowds cheering for his answers. It was a win-win for both sides, but one thing that I thought was interesting, and this is really a huge win for Trump, is that nobody really asked him questions that a lot of Republican voters care about. I didn't even think about that, but all the questions were like Democrat questions, like E. Jean Carroll, and these are things Democrats care about. Republicans care about, why did you hire so poorly? Are you going to actually do it next time? Why were you running around doing big pharma ops? These are questions that I think a lot of swing voters in the Republican Party would ask, but it's almost like an entire circus. It's like the left gets to be mad, the right gets to be happy, CNN gets the ratings, Trump looks better, and once again, the issues that actually matter never get addressed. And I feel like that's kind of part of the show. And then you have a CNN host who's acting super, super liberal when there's old clips of her complaining about George Soros' open immigration policy. To me, it's like a bunch of actors. It's like WWE for people that actually want the country to change, and it never will. Just some interesting stuff. After I saw that clip and heard other angles about how they didn't really actually ask any good questions that Republicans would want to answer, I do see it that way. It's like when a left-winger interviews Trump, they just ask him stupid questions and try to catch him in a controversy. When a right-winger interviews Trump, they just talk about how great he is. There's never that moment where people actually ask him good questions. So win for CNN, win for Trump. Giant spectacle circus, and I don't know how many people involved actually, are interested in getting to the core of stuff. Speaking of getting to the core of stuff, let's just hear Texas Governor Abbott on why he's busing migrants to liberal cities, and then we have a few clips to play.
The reason why we are busing those migrants across the country is because small little towns on the border like Del Rio and Eagle Pass, they have no capacity.
So let's just play the other clip and then
to deal with the number of people coming across the border. And we have to relieve the congestion in those small communities and bus them to larger communities. By the way, communities that are sanctuary cities.
So from what I've seen, Republicans, it's a mixed bag. Some people love this idea, send them to liberal cities, make them deal with it. A lot of people don't like it. They say send them back across the border, bus them back to Mexico or wherever they're coming from. Don't just send them across America. That's counterproductive. I see both sides of the argument, but I think that the law in this country under the Biden administration and with all these liberal groups and lawyers, they're creating a mess purposely or by a mistake. But in general, if you can't send them across, if you can't stop them from coming, I guess the next best chess move is to send them to Democrat cities to let them deal with it, and then maybe people will care about the problem. It's not ideal, but we don't live in an ideal world. In an ideal world, they'd never even be coming and people would follow the process. But that's not the world we live in. So let's be honest. This is one way to do it. So where is he sending these migrants to? He's busing over 17,000 migrants. He sent 9,200 to Washington, D.C. That's a lot for a small area. 5,700 to New York City, a sanctuary city or whatever, sanctuary state. I don't know what New York is. 1,600 to Chicago, and over 925 to Philadelphia. So even though Chicago's only getting 1,600, it's a lot of people, but not that much in comparison to what's going on. Let's watch these clips from ABC 7 Chicago did a report on it, and the people of Chicago are furious. They don't want the 1,600 people. Looks like South Korea or Japan when they try to take migrants. People are like, no, we don't want them.
What's important is that we really establish that this is a humanitarian crisis, and we're here.
South Shore residents responded with resounding rejection.
Sorry, I don't know why I got taken off the screen, but anyway, it's like, she's like, this is a humanitarian crisis. I'm a liberal. And they're all like, no. Let's keep watching.
While this crisis may constitute an emergency for the city of Chicago, it does not constitute an emergency for the South Shore community.
Amen. I don't know exactly what's going on, but amen. All right, here's the next clip.
Incoming migrants have overwhelmed district police stations by the hundreds.
It's my turn. It's my turn. Hello.
I love that guy with the Christian cross on. He's just screaming. Do you see the police station? It's just you got people sleeping in a police station. Like, are we a third world country? We're just going to have like homeless people sleeping in police stations? I mean, it's getting ridiculous, but whatever.
But city leaders could barely eke out a word of the details about a proposed respite center at the former South Shore High School.
So Chicago residents are furious that they're getting 1,600 people, or maybe more, maybe less. What do you think Arizona and Texas have to deal with? Millions of people coming across the border all the time. And this is how Chicago acts. This is how New York Mayor Eric Adams acts. They get a few thousand and they start freaking out. I know that it would be better if people just came legally, but if you can't stop them and they won't let you send them back and they're trying to sue, and then they say that they're a sanctuary city, I like this chess move. I think eventually they should deport people that are illegal and do their job. But if you can't do it, it's like, I don't know. I'm at the point now, it's like, why not just send people to the White House? Like, if our borders and open, if it's a free-for-all, let's just make the White House a free-for-all. There's people from hundreds of countries. I've talked to people that go to the border, they interview people, they're bilingual. They're telling me that there's people coming from China, from Haiti. You name a country, people are coming here. Here's a clip from this guy. I have his name tagged, so I'll read it after. He's interviewing Haitians. There's like hundreds or thousands of Haitians just flying to Mexico somehow to walk across the border. Our country is a joke. I mean, Republicans are 100% right about this topic, and Democrats are just so fake about it. It has nothing to do with like hate speech. It's just ridiculous. I know most of my audience gets that.
So tell me, why don't all of you just cross the river like the Venezuelans are doing?
No, we cannot do that. We, like Haitian, we try to have everything to go on the right direction. If we do that and they cut us for the border, and they're going to send us back to Haiti.
So they're just chill. They're just coming somehow from Haiti. Who's funding this? Do they have the money to come there? Is it worth it? Are they paying coyotes? Is there some sort of NGO funding this? Like, who's paying a bunch of people to take a boat or a flight to Mexico to then try to illegally come in the country? Let's take another look.
But Haiti ain't no security, no good life.
What makes you think they're going to send you back to Haiti?
We're going to be illegal.
Who told you that? Who told you they're going to send you back to Haiti?
This is what we heard.
Is it happening?
Yes.
Yeah? Do you know anybody that's been sent back to Haiti?
I don't know them, but this is what I heard.
Yeah.
So there's people from Haiti, there's people from China, there's people from South America, Central America, Mexico, Venezuela. I mean, name a place. They even found Russians at the border. It's like our border's a free-for-all. Here's my thought. It's like, if the border's a free-for-all, why not let the White House be a free-for-all, right? I'm for law and order to some extent. I'm not like a full-blown communist or anything, but I'm also not a libertarian. I do think there should be common sense rules that are best for the whole community. But as far as if nothing matters at the border, then nothing matters. Send them all to DC and send them right outside the White House. Like, line these people up outside the White House. Like, why not? I don't understand. It's like, well, they can do what? You get 100,000 people, 10,000 people, 15,000 people. Where are they going to go? Like, are you going to take them? Where? Open up I know there's extra rooms in the White House. Start lining these people all around the White House. Why not? It's just like, what are you going to do? And then the Democrats try to say, oh, you're just hateful and racist. It's like, there's millions of people coming across the border. You send 5,000 to New York, and all of a sudden Eric Adams is like, this is a crisis. Of course it is, dum-dum, because you don't know where to put them. You already have a city that's filled with crime. You already have homelessness growing. You already have drug abuse growing, because this country is like a big pharma hellhole. I love America. It's a beautiful country, but it's like, you guys pump so much pharma pills, and you guys get lobbied by pharma so much that like half the country at this point is on pills and mentally ill. So the mental illness crisis is growing. The homeless crisis is growing. You guys imploded the economy in both parties, and now you're trying to like men in black memory white people into pretending like it didn't happen, pointing the finger at each other. I don't know. I mean, I understand the right-wing perspective of like, send them back. But if you can't do that, then the next best thing, in my view, is to send them to liberal cities. They call themselves sanctuary cities. It's easier to say I'm so nice than to take 50,000 people. Like, where are you going to put them? Is Chicago or San Francisco, are they in the position to help other people? They can't even help their own people. Less than 20% of people feel safe on the BART Their own public transportation is not safe. Los Angeles, the homeless crisis is so bad it looks like a movie set. You're not even believing it's real when you see it. You're like, oh, I heard it was bad, but like it's even worse than that. It's bad. I remember one time I was in a Uber with two kids from or adults, I don't know, they weren't that old, but from Britain. And they were just like blown away because we drove through Skid Row, and they're like, what? This is crazy. It's like 50 blocks of just like thousands of tents. They're like, this is unreal. I can't believe this exists. This is like mind blowing. It's like, yeah, that's Los Angeles. And these people are sitting on Twitter talking about how they like open borders. They can't even help the people in their city. They can't even help the workers. They don't even know what to do with the homeless people. They've been lying about it for 15 years, saying they could solve it. And you want 1 million people to come across the border illegally, where are you going to put them? Where are they going to go? Start sending them to liberal cities. I'm totally fine with it. I think conservatives need to get tougher. And, you know, I think that's the best thing at this point you could do. And then when a Republican gets in office, make sure you don't fall for the left-right paradigm. And if they say they're going to build a wall, make sure they complete it. If they say that they're going to deport people and you want that to happen, then make sure they do it. Don't fall for the left-right Coke Pepsi paradigm, because it's like, we can't build the wall. Why? Why can't you? You had the House and the Senate for 2 years. Well, Paul Ryan, but you're all friends with Paul Ryan. Stop lying. You know, I've seen your Twitter, Trump. I know you say it's only DeSantis, but you were also saying Paul Ryan's legacy can't be questioned after Paul Ryan, you know, stonewalled you for 2 years. If he stonewalled you, why didn't you tweet that then? You wait until it's over, and then you're like, oh, in hindsight, yeah, whatever. I'm just saying, you know, if Republicans ever get back into power, make sure they actually do something, because despite the fact that they constantly flail their hands in the air and act like they've never had anything, they had the White House for 4 years, they had the Senate and the House for 2 years, and they had a super, you know, a majority where they could do stuff and accomplish things, or at least more than they have now to get it done, and they couldn't do it. And they can't bend the rules and do executive orders and emergencies for the border, yet they could do executive orders and the emergencies for Big Pharma. Do you notice that? People think I'm just like a hater or something, but I'm just not dumb. So it's like Republicans can't do that. They can't finish the border wall. They can't deport anybody, but somehow majestically they have the power to Operation Warp Speed, send, you know, trillions of dollars around to corporations, $18 billion to Big Pharma, and play along with a lockdown for 3 months. It's crazy that they have the power to overstep and just take wipe their butt with the Constitution when it comes to helping their Big Pharma friends. But when it comes to helping you, all of a sudden, they're not, they just don't know. You know what I'm saying? I don't believe it. So let me know what you think. I like the Abbott strategy. I mean, it's ugly, it's sad, it's unfortunate, but if, you know, what's Texas going to do? Just let millions of people sit there and you can't do anything? Send them to D.C., send them to the White House, send them to, you know, the Democratic Party wants them. The Republican Party says, like, we're full. Send them to Democrat areas. Send them, like, why not? Sanctuary City, you know, send them to the Los Angeles courthouse. Like, let them stay outside there. It's going to be a mess. I mean, downtown L.A. is already disgusting. I've done a mini documentary there. I mean, really just a content piece. I wouldn't call it a documentary, but I went down there and filmed one time, and people were like, whoa, it got hundreds of thousands of views. People were like, it's that bad? It's like, it is that bad. Yeah. They can't even help their own citizens, yet they're advocating for millions of people to come to this country, and they don't even know where they're from. They don't know who they are. They have no documentation on them. They just want them here. Why? You can't. It's so unbelievable. Let me know what you guys think, but that's the story of the day. Abbott sending them to D.C., New York City, Chicago, Philadelphia. The Philadelphia residents aren't happy about it, and they shouldn't be. I saw some guy on Twitter. He was some sort of black activist, and he was like, Ron DeSantis is a racist, and he hates us, but, you know, he's got good policy for us. Obviously, Ron DeSantis isn't racist, and he doesn't hate you, but they're starting to realize that, you know, it's like the illegal immigration doesn't help black people. It's like if you are a black activist and you actually want something for your race, or you want a handout, or you want someone to give you something, or you want policies to help you or whatever, you're starting to realize that you're second fiddle. It's like if they dump 20,000 illegal immigrants off in your neighborhood, like how does that help you? You know, I think activists are starting to figure this stuff out, not the fake left ones. And most of the ones that they plaster all over the television and social media, they're the fake ones. They're the Democratic Party, like operative types, where they're always saying dumb stuff. But the real ones are the ones that have half a brain are starting to realize, like, our city's dangerous, our city's dirty, our economy sucks, we can't afford anything, and you're just going to dump a bunch of people from other countries into our like neighborhood. Like, how is that going to help us? And you won't even help us. How are you going to help them? I think this whole illusion is just going to shatter. What do you guys think? And with that Caitlin Collins lady or whatever, the CNN lady, it's like, how do you go from somebody who used to say that George Soros is for open borders to a CNN host? Like, how does that happen? It happens the same way Donald Trump goes from somebody who talks about vaccine injuries in 2015 to somebody who doesn't ever talk about vaccine injuries because he's the vaccine guy. Both sides are fake. I vote Republican because they're better. But the fact that like people can't see through the CNN Trump town hall paradigm is so funny. It's like the same way Caitlin Collins pretends like she doesn't know about open borders anymore is the same way Donald Trump pretends like he doesn't know about vaccine injuries, because he's not old and he's not stupid. That's like the running narrative, that he just doesn't know. He knew in 2015 and he forgot when he took money from pharma and printed a bunch of money for them. He didn't forget. They just don't care. It's like WWE for people who just really want to believe. What could we do? That's a good question. I think the solution, people think this is like a doomer take, but I think it's really optimistic. All you could really do is be the best version of yourself in the world, and, you know, take care of yourself, take care of your family, take care of your friends, work hard, and just see the world as it is. You know, if you were born in, you know, a coal, like outside of a coal mine in West Virginia, or you were born outside of a diamond mine in an African country, like these were the cards you were dealt, and you got to just do the best. You know, not everybody grows up in a mansion. You know, there's billions of people in this world who've gone through really crazy stuff that's way crazier than what we're going through. I meant to say diamond mine. I ended up saying coal mine, but you get what I'm saying. It's like everybody has a journey and a struggle. So this, like, our American struggle is not unique, and it's not necessarily like something that no one else has done harder. So as bad as things might seem, it is what it is. You know, our ancestors have gone through worse, and, you know, it's just our situation to deal with. So there's many routes. It's like if you live in San Francisco, at this point, I'm not going to tell people what to do, but I would reevaluate. Like, this is a city that's falling apart. I don't want to be there. You get what I'm saying? You know, some people want to move to a farm. Some people want to move to the mountains. Some people want to go to remote areas that can't be infiltrated as easily. And that makes sense. That's a strategy, you know, but there's good places in the country still, and not everybody coming over is bad or anything, but this is our struggle. We don't live in a utopia. Life's not perfect, and, you know, things could be much worse. So I think taking care of yourself, making the right moves, that's the answer. And I think that politicians exploit people because people are in pain. I mean, I know that they do that, you know? Like, black activism is being exploited by the Democratic Party because there's a lot of pain, and a lot of the pain is justified. I'm not saying it's not. Like, pain is pain. You know, if you were hurt, there's a reason for it. And I'm not saying that nobody has a reason to feel. I think there's a lot of confusion among race. I think there's a lot of, you know, false narratives and false history being taught. So you have every right to feel pain, but when you feel pain, just understand that everybody who pretends to be a nurse is not a nurse. Sometimes it's the person that's actually hurting you that's pretending like they're helping you. So, you know, black activists are often exploited by the Democratic Party. Patriots are often exploited by the Republican Party. People who love the country sometimes can't see through the people that pretend like they're sending you a helping hand. And although I do think that Republicans have better policy, I think in many ways they are controlled opposition, and they just kind of fill up space and do a half-assed job, you know, and just kind of play the role of car salesman. So I think everybody to some extent is being exploited racially, politically, and, you know, on a personal level, you could take care of yourself. On a national level, we got to be able to call it like we see it. You know, I don't want to harp on the CNN town hall, but I find everybody's take on it so funny because people are just like gushing over it. And it's like not a single question was asked about the vaccine or the socialism or the lockdown. This is, in my opinion, a bipartisan effort for Trump to rub CNN's back, CNN to rub Trump's back. Don't get me wrong. Trump is hilarious. He did a good job. He's very funny. He's a very hilarious comedian in person. Like, he's a riot. He's so funny. With that being said, you know, he whips out this tweet Like, I'm not saying he didn't have it on prepared. That's smooth of him. But overall, it seemed like a theater. So CNN could get ratings. Trump could look good. But both parties are coming together, the Democrats and the Republicans, CNN and Trump, to basically wipe people's hard drives. So as if no one remembers what happened in 2020 when both parties went full communist manifesto, and that's kind of their plan. It's like, let's just get Trump to talk about the election for 4 years. Because if everyone talks about November, no one's going to talk about March through November. No one's going to talk about the Biden vaccine mandate. Like, it's like they can control. It's like a controlled arena. Like left wing, right wing. Here's the topics. Fight over it. You're mad. You're happy. You're going to cry. You're going to scream. You're going to clap. You're going to yell. But we control what you're talking about. We control where this goes. That's how I see it. It's like it was a win for him. It was a win for CNN. But I do think that they're kind of coming together to basically wipe people's hard drives as if they didn't scam you in 2020, and they're not apologetic about it, And I think at the end of the day, with like the Federal Reserve and the money printing, like there's never going to be a conversation about that, and maybe for good reason, because there's nothing people could really do about it anyway. So it's like not worth worrying about if you can't really fix it. Someone said immigration is an invasion. I mean, when they're letting this many people come from all sorts of countries, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, would they let Ukraine? They probably care about the border of Ukraine more than they care about America. Like, would they let 100 different countries invade Ukraine? Would they allow that? No. Why would they want that? They don't even want Russia there. You think they would want China coming in and Haiti? Operatives from every country. So why would our border be wide open? And this is why I just want to say this too, while I'm on the topic. This is why I go so hard at fake hate speech, because it's designed to manipulate society into basically preventing you from stopping the problem. Like if they can convince enough people that border security is racist, they can pour people in, and then you can't question it and you can't stop it. If they can use the words racism, anti-Semitism, sexism to basically just stop you from saying the truth, well, the truth about men and women are sexist, the truth about reality is homophobic, or like these words that they overreach. If you don't want this, transgender to play sports, then you must hate everybody. Like this is the narrative they go. Just like I told you, there's a lot of smear attempts against me, pushing this anti-Semitic rhetoric, like, oh, he's so anti-Semitic. The truth is, the thing that I've talked about the most, and everybody knows this, is the speech laws. DeSantis and Trump, I believe, are taking donor money, and in return, it seems like, unless they just organically thought of this, I don't think so, to basically start normalizing this idea that there's a such thing as anti-Semitic hate speech. And while you could dislike what somebody says about border security or this or that, to make a law and to start passing bills that essentially make it on record that this is hate speech is completely antithesis to the First Amendment. And everything that I say is usually true. I'm not going to say I'm perfect, but it's like, I'm not saying that being hateful is a good thing. I've never done that. But in these laws, they're basically broadening what the word means to try to criminalize anybody who speaks the truth about certain topics. It's like passing, and this is the best example I could give to conservatives so they could figure it out and snap some of the programming, is like, imagine if they passed a George Floyd speech bill and they said that talking about crime statistics is racist. Everything that they say is racist. Trump's racist, toilet paper's racist, white walls are racist, Ariel's racist, you're racist, everyone's racist, crime statistics are racist, doing what everyone else does is right. Like, imagine all these things that they say are racist all the time. Now they're passing a bill calling it the George Floyd criminal speech law. And now it's like, oh, well, now on record, if you write this on a memo, that's just racism. That could be a bigger felony. And it's like, that I don't want to criminalize this speech, because although there are evil people out there, there's bad people out there. Basically trying to say speech is violence is a very dangerous path to go. And America, one of the best parts about it is the freedom of speech to speak against tyranny. So that's what I've talked about for the last 3 years, is the fact that Republicans are passing speech laws for donors in Israel. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not saying I hate Israel. I'm not saying they don't have a right to defend themselves. I'm just saying that's happening in America, and I don't believe with it. So now everybody's coming out of the woodworks and being like, Anomaly's an anti-Semite. He hates everybody. I don't hate anybody. I'm just saying that's not constitutional. The same way I don't hate Black America, but if they're going to pass a racist speech bill to say that 10,000 things are racist, I don't agree with that. Not only does that water down the word racism and anti-Semitism, not only does that turn more people against you because people start getting fed up with the propaganda and the speech laws, it's just on every level, it's not helpful. It doesn't help racial tension. It doesn't stop the hate. And it absolutely does not help American citizens of any ethnic group. And to be very clear, too, a lot of the groups that will smear me and lie about me, where were they when Israel was getting locked down? How much do you care about Israelis and Jews in America when you had millions of rabbis, Orthodox people in Israel, non-religious Jews that couldn't even go to work because they didn't have a Pfizer shot in their arm? Did you say anything about that? None of these groups said any of this. They're like the Al Sharptons of the Jewish community, where they basically just run around, cause more racial tension, cause more division, constantly lie, constantly exaggerate. And when someone tries to stand up for the First Amendment, they act like you're hurting everybody when you're literally just standing there saying, I don't agree with this. I don't think it's going to help. And I think it's a very, very slippery slope when you turn a word that means this into this, into this, into this, into this. And I know it's going to backfire because essentially with the word racism, it already has. Like, people used to take that word seriously. In my view, these accusations are very serious. But now when you call everything racist, border security is racist, building a wall is racist, talking about this is racist, Nikola Jokic is racist, and the MVP needs to go to Embiid, it's racism, racism, racism. Now in the last 10 years, they've made millions of people, when they hear the word, it's not like an alarm goes off and it's like, oh my gosh, something bad's going on. That's how people used to feel in the 90s. And people were not about this stuff. Now it's like, oh, are you talking like real racism? Or are you talking like the liberals lying again about it? Same with the word anti-Semitism. It's like when you exaggerate and overuse it and reach with it, in my opinion, it just has a negative effect. It ends up making people not really care that much. And it's like, when people talk about Soros, 9 out of 10, if not more, of conservatives, they're not talking about everybody, and they're certainly not talking about every religion or race. They're just talking about George Soros, the multi-billionaire who does, enter politics with his money like a lot of people and has a vision for the world. That's just what he does. He definitely isn't aimless. He has an aim. He has a vision. Some people agree with it. Some people don't. And when people say it, then you try to say like Trump's anti-Semitic, even like it's too much. It's not helping, but what I've found out as many people is there's a lot of, thank you so much, Miss Griffin. There's a lot of race hustlers out here where it's like they almost want the chaos because they can either profit or gain notoriety off the chaos. And it's like they've lost sight of what they really started for. And that's all I'll say on that. I don't want to harp on it too much, but everybody has a responsibility to really do a good job. And just because you do something and you're an activist, it doesn't mean that you don't have to be a good person or likable. And in every race, this is what I've been saying for a long time, and I'm going to repeat it because it's so important and it's so true. The best thing you could do to be an advocate for your race, if that's what you want to do, you don't have to care about it, but if you do for some reason or for whatever reason, just be a good person. If you're not a good person, it doesn't matter how much you use your race as a shield. You're going to annoy people. There's a lot of great Jewish people in this world that have done so much for the Jewish community by being awesome and cool and likable and honest. And I'm so blessed to have met people in my life like that. So when I see some bad hombre come around, I don't think everybody's like that because I already have had great experiences with other individuals and I know they don't represent everybody, but it's always the worst people that are like, I represent everybody. I represent everybody. Why is that? There's some sort of psychology there where the greatest people of every group that I've ever seen don't act like they represent everybody. Even if they show love to their people and their race and their religion, they're not like, I'm everybody. They're like, no, I'm just me. They're always humble. They're always like, I do what I can, but I know that there's, God's above me. Those are always the best people. It's always the worst people from every group, including my own, that put it on their back and just act so vile and then act like that's going to help anybody. How is that going to help anybody? It doesn't. The people that help the most are cool, likable, impressive. I love music. I love sports. I love a lot of things. I love culture. I love when someone just crushes, when someone's great at something. It's a beautiful thing. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's Francis Ngannou in the MMA, whether it's Adam Sandler with comedy, I'm not saying you have to be an athlete or a comedian, but when you're just funny and great and likable, it makes people like, man, I love that guy, man. And then if you know, Adam Sandler makes the Hanukkah song. I used to love the Hanukkah song growing up. I thought it was the funniest thing. I still do. I loved Adam Sandler. I grew up loving Mattis Yahoo, who was super Jewish, but he was a great rapper, a great beatboxer, a great MC. He had a beautiful message. I love Mattis Yahoo. His first album with King Without a Crown, that's one of the most underrated rap albums ever. And that draws you in of like, oh, that guy's cool. That guy's honest. That guy's real. That guy's talented. That's what makes people love, you know, a certain group. It's not like people that just cry and exaggerate and smear you and act terrible. It's almost like they want you to hate them so then they can have something to do. But I won't buy into that. I can't let somebody make me hateful and angry. And I'm so grateful to God that I've had the experiences I've had, because there's not a single person that could make me hate everybody. It's just not possible. I've met great people from every race, religion, and it's like I don't blame other people for what bad people are doing. I've never done that. But I do notice patterns. I do notice, you know, certain statistics, and I think it's okay to talk about these things. I actually think it's healthy to talk about. I think it helps to talk about. It relieves tension when you could come across the aisle and have a tough discussion, but be reasonable about it. So, you know, I know a lot of people want to drag me into hate and misery, but I won't do it. I don't care who does what to me. I'll never hate or be angry at entire groups of people. Not Jews, not Christians, not Muslims, not atheists, not liberals, not conservatives, not, I don't know, black, Asian. I'm not going to be generic, but you get it. It's like, I go hard at conservatives. I go hard at Republicans. I don't hate Republicans. I like Republicans. And I just feel like the weakness is just like getting weird. And I'm like, if we do somehow win an election again, we can't just repeat. We can't like stay on this cycle. Like, are people realizing it yet? Even on the Democratic Party, like, don't people realize that Joe Biden is not like a savior? The only reason people think Joe Biden's a savior is because they don't like Donald Trump and they don't like Republicans. But identifying you by what you're not is not, you get what I'm saying? It's like, I'm not that. I'm not that. That's the problem with politics, is no one has an actual identity. It's just like, I'm not the right. Well, I'm not the left. So what are you? It's like, well, I'm this. Okay, well, how good are you at it? Like, well, we don't really do much. How come you don't do much? Well, you know, the left. And it's like, well, what about him? It's like, when your guy gets in, how come he doesn't do anything? Excuse. Then you go to the left and it's like, I don't even know what they want. What do left-wingers want at this point? If I was left-wing and I lived in San Francisco or New York, I would want safety. I would want security. I would want a better economy. You know what I'm saying? These are all things that I would want if I was left-wing. Do they want that anymore? I have no idea. So I end up usually calling out my own side more, because I at least understand what people are going for, and I realize that we're off track. That's why I do that. It's not like I like liberals more than conservatives. I don't even know what they want anymore. Do they want San Francisco cleaned up, or do they want it filthy? Do they want Skid Row better, or do they want it just like to be a complete like dirty hellhole? I don't know. Someone said we're on the edge of depression. Send them. They could starve with the rest. I mean, I'm not that pessimistic. I don't think we're on the edge of a depression. I think that we're printing too much money, but I don't know. It seems like we have a lot of money. We send it to Ukraine. We send it to Afghanistan. We send it all over the world. I don't know when this petrodollar show ends, but they've gotten away with it for a long time. Let me see. Someone said uniparty government. Yeah, I hear you. Joni said, amen, brother. We don't conform to the world. No, for sure. Elizabeth said they want free money and free BS. There's more opportunity in America. And, you know, I do have sympathy for these people, because at the end of the day, people don't realize that American money just goes further. If you were born in West Virginia or the hood of New York, even though it might, like, and I'm not saying all of West Virginia is bad. A lot of it's great. I've lived there. I'm just saying, like, say you grew up poor in Alabama or poor in New York City, even though it sucks, you still have the opportunity around you to get a job. And even if you get a minimum wage job, you're making more money than other countries make. So, if you grow up in the Philippines, there's just not as much economic strength there. If you grow up in Thailand, there's just not as much economic strength there. If you grow up in certain parts of Africa, they just don't have the economic strength. So I understand why people want to come here. It's like if you were Haitian and your government sucks and your money is non-existent, and someone told you they'll put you on a plane and you'll line up on the border, you might want to line up on the border too. I see their side of it. It's just like, as an American citizen, I see our side of it. It's like we can't even take care of our own citizens. We got hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people living on the streets just rotting as crime is going up in a lot of areas. We don't have enough. If you have a house that is perfect, then you can help other people. If your house is a mess and it's falling apart, you can't just have more people come in to make it fall apart. So as compassionate and empathetic as I am, it's like we're broken right now. We need to fix ourselves before we can help other people. And that's the lens I see the world with. And the difference is I'm just not a hypocrite about it. If you are Haitian, I understand why you'd want to come to America. But I'm American, and this is my point of view. If you're Mexican and you're from Mexico, I get it. I have family from there. I'm just saying, it's in general, I get your side, I get my side, and I'm not going to be a hypocrite about it. I'm thoughtful. But just like if I came to your place and did something you didn't want me to do, you don't have to like what I'm doing. It's not like, oh, you're racist if you don't like me. No, it's just the reality. And this goes with every country. People, despite the smear attempts, and I'm not going to just like cower my whole life and apologize, but I'm just being authentic and truthful. Whether you're from Haiti, whether you're from China, like, I get the whole dynamic. I've never told people from Israel to not care about Israel. I've never done that. I've never said you shouldn't exist, you can't care about your people or your country. I've never been that person at all. All I'm saying is if I'm American, I'm allowed to care about my First Amendment the same way you care about your country and your people. I'm not a hypocrite about it. I don't say I care about my country, but you can't care about yours. This is the narrative they're trying to paint about me, like I'm that type of person. I'm not. I'm not a hypocrite. I don't have double standards. I'm just saying, if you care about that country, that's totally fine, but don't act like I'm a hateful person because I care about my country. That's just the truth. I care about everyone, but at the same time, I'm an American citizen. Like, how much activism can I do in Palestine or Israel or China if I live in a city and there's 10,000 homeless people that live within 3-mile radius of me? It's just not, it doesn't make sense to me. It's like, I'm trying to focus on my country. I feel like we're broken. I feel like we're suffering. I'm not hateful. I don't, even with Israel and Palestine, it's like, I don't know. Maybe if I was born Palestinian, I'd care more about it. And if I was born in Israel, I'd care more about that. I'm not saying I don't care, but it's like, I get your perspective. I get your perspective. There's 50 wars going on in the world right now, and there's a war in our country just as far as like psychologically right now. So it's like, I don't have time to pick a side in a foreign country and battle. Like, I just don't. I don't feel inspired to do that. I'm sorry. I get the Palestinian side. I get the Israeli side. I hope they figure it out. But if I live in a city that has 20,000 crackheads that are like crapping on the street outside my apartment, I'm just a little bit more concerned about that, because how the hell am I going to fix a whole foreign country's problem if I can't even fix my own neighborhood? That's the type of person I am. I'm more into like localism, but to each their own. Just don't lie about who I am. It's annoying. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Lay. Someone said the U.S. customs numbers reported on their website are unbelievable. The situation is wild. I think it's going to fix itself, because at the end of the day, if Republicans send these to Democrat areas, Democrats are going to have to deal with it. It's easy to say, it's easy to live in D.C., and it's easy to live in Chicago and say that you care so much about immigration if it's not affecting you that much. If you're a border town in Texas or you're a border town in Arizona, you're facing the brunt of this. So as much as I wish they could just like turn people around and send them to where they came from, I do think that it's a good strategy. It's like, what are you going to make Yuma just suffer and all these places that have border towns? Like, no, the Democrats want them so bad because they're not dealing with them. And it doesn't mean these are bad people. It's just we don't have the logistics. Our country's in shambles. If you ask most people, whether they're left wing or right wing, is the country going in the right direction? Most people will say no. This is one thing that Democrats and Republicans have in common. Ask 10,000 Democrats, is the country heading in a right direction? They'll be like, no. Ask Republicans, is the country heading in the right direction? They'll say no for different reasons, but very few people think, oh, this is heading in the right direction for sure. Like almost no one thinks that, which is sad, but that's just the truth. So if probably, I would guess, I can't prove this, but probably over 90% of people think the country's going in the wrong direction, why would we be taking tens of millions of people in from another country? In the obvious narrative, I mean, this doesn't work. The rhetoric doesn't really matter. But when you have a lot of people that are Democrat, they'll be like, this country sucks. This country's racist. Well, if it's so racist, why would you want a bunch of Haitians coming here? It's so terrible. They hate LGBT. So like, then why do you want so many people to come? You know, at least Republicans are not hypocritical on this topic. They're like, we don't want you to come. We're full. We have our own issues. We can't do this. And it's like, okay. Left wingers will be like, this country sucks. Okay, then why do they want to come? Because it doesn't suck. Yeah, it doesn't suck. There's problems. We're not going in the right direction, but it's not a horrible country. But yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you think. Someone said, Cali's a prime example right there in Pelosi's front yard. Well, even that whole thing that happened with Paul Pelosi, at first I thought, I'm not going to lie, I thought it was like a psyop or a setup, just like my intuition told me something seems fake about this. And, you know, when I watched the footage and I watched the stuff, I actually think it really happened. And you could not agree with me. I don't really care, because some people are like, oh, Anomaly, you're a shill. I don't believe it. You can believe what you want. This is not a mandate. You know, I'm not the Democratic Party with vaccines. You don't have to believe what I believe, but I would tell you if I didn't believe it. I truly, after watching the footage from the back door and the footage for the front, it's still a little weird, but that's how bad San Francisco is. People don't realize it doesn't matter if you're Paul Pelosi or CNN. If you live in San Francisco, the chance of you having to interact with a crackhead is astronomical right now. So you've seen CNN, they've been broken into multiple times in San Francisco. They had private security and their cars still got broken into. So this idea that Pelosi can just live in San Francisco and he's not going to have to deal with this, just like everyone who lives in San Francisco, the chance of Pelosi dealing with it is extremely high. So after seeing the footage of it, I really do think that it's some crackhead just kind of like found their house or targeted their house and then, you know, made a move. I mean, once again, you don't have to agree with it, but I saw the footage and I was like, I mean, it's not out of the realm. It's like being in a subway and getting yelled at by a crackhead. No matter if it's Nancy Pelosi, AOC, or, you know, the barista, like there's a chance that that's going to happen. It's almost definitely going to happen. If you stay in one of these cities, it's going to happen. The first time I went to LA before it was even that bad, the first time I took the subway in LA, the first time, literally, I was with my friend and we were going to a party. He got punched in the face by some old crackhead guy. That was scary as crap. And I saw the guy and I was like nervous because I just felt his energy and he was looking weird. And honestly, I was like keeping an eye on him because he looked crazy. The dude turns around and punches my friend right in the face, like literally right in the face. We get up, everybody's kind of shocked, and we just walk off the subway. That was my first time on the metro in Los Angeles. These things happen. If you live in the city long enough, you're going to see that. And that was when it wasn't that bad. What do you think happens now on the metro? I can't even imagine what's going on there now, because the amount of crackheads has probably quadrupled. The amount of homeless people that just grift on there has probably quintupled. It's crazy. Rebel Bird said, you once said both sides are losing. Dems are doing it at warp speed and Republicans are doing it in slow motion. Lately, it feels like the Republicans are gaining speed on the Dems. To me, anyway. Thanks, Anomaly. Appreciate you. Yeah, I didn't get what you're saying. Are you saying they're gaining speed as far as like going in the right direction or going in the wrong direction? I hear what you're saying, but I just got a little confused at the end. I think you're saying that they're speeding up in the wrong direction. It's interesting. I mean, I don't say this to be a fence sitter or to be like, oh, pick a side. I really feel like it's theater. Think about the CNN town hall. I'm going to repeat this and then we're going to get it to the end because it's truly fascinating. The CNN host was someone who was on at some point in her life, a couple years ago or whenever that was on Fox News complaining about George Soros and his open border policy. That's the CNN host, was a former Fox News contributor who knows about George Soros's policies, right? Now she's a CNN host. Did she forget who she was, have an awakening, or is she playing a role? I think she's playing a role. Then you have Donald Trump, who isn't dumb or stupid. He's very funny, very smart, very successful. He used to talk about vaccine side effects in 2015. He had a meeting to talk about vaccine side effects with RFK in 2016. And now when he's asked about vaccine side effects, after he's done socialism for Pfizer, Johnson, and Moderna and calls himself the father of the vaccine who rushed it, now all of a sudden he doesn't want to talk about vaccine side effects. Did Trump forget who he was 6 years ago? Does he not know they exist? Or is he in on it? Is it a show? I think it's a show. CNN gets ratings. The former Fox News contributor plays the role of the liberal. Trump plays the role of the good guy. No one asks about the lockdown. No one asks about the vaccine. No one asks about the socialism. No one asks good questions to challenge Donald Trump. He looks like a hero because they ask him Democrat question. It's like whack-a-mole. What do you think of E. John Carroll? That's one of the funniest 2 minutes I've seen in a long time. Trump talking about that is hilarious. Whack-a-mole, whack-a-mole, whack-a-mole. It's like if they can control the theater, nothing will ever get done. And this is why even when I talk about the election, people get upset, but I'm not saying you can't talk about the election. But if you're only talking about the election for 5 years and you forgot the fact that you won in 2016, and even with Donald Trump as president, deportations went down, the wall wasn't fully built, and then the lockdown still happened, and we printed money, imploded the economy, and Trump morphed into a vaccine salesman for Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, and we're all stuck in our houses for 2 months, and then the whole country's in shambles. That happened in 2020. It's not saying he's fully to blame, but the real scandal is the fact that you won the election, and even with a House and a Senate, you didn't get anything done. Even with a president, you didn't get anything done. All the executive orders and all the emergencies were for Big Pharma, not for you, for Big Pharma. They pass executive orders to pass speech laws, not to help you. Just go back and look at them all. There's some good ones, but most of them are not. The point that I'm getting is like, that's the big scandal, but nobody sees it that way because even though they're winning a game that's controlled. It's like he's going to go on CNN and help them and then play whack-a-mole with questions that nobody really cares that much about. It's like, do you care about E. Jean Carroll? Probably not. Do you care about half the questions that they asked them that they're clapping for? Some people do, but for the most part, the questions people want to know are like, are you going to hire better people this time? Like, who would be in your cabinet? Who do you like? Like, how come you took $100+ million from corporations? Like, didn't you say you weren't going to take anyone's money? These are good questions to challenge Trump, but it's like a win-win. It's like, he looks like a hero. CNN gets the ratings. Trump gets what he wants. He gets people clapping for him. The right goes, yeah. The left goes, boo. And that's the show. But it never gets to the core of what they do. It never gets to the core of what they did. In 2020, for the most part, was bipartisan. Democrats went further, Republicans went less far, but Republicans were still in on it out of like 9 out of 10 times. And do you notice that no one is talking about that? Someone said I should interview him. I would love to interview him. I would love to talk to Trump. I would love to have a conversation about it. I don't really have that type of sway. Maybe I could change that. Maybe there will be a point. We'll see what happens, but I can only do what I can control. And I do think to some extent that this is what it is. Like it's like with Biden. They don't just like let him talk. Everything's calculated. He goes there, he does this, he says this. The right's calculated too, just in a different way. So I don't know if anyone's that interested in like coming on my show. I had Candace Owens on a week or two ago. That was a big guest. I've gotten smeared more times in the past 2 weeks, falsely accused of anti-Semitism and everything under the sun, more times than I ever have in my entire life in the past week and a half because I had Candace Owens on. These are the games that people play. So, if I try to get big guests, a lot of times they don't want to come on. Either they're afraid of conversation or, it's just better for their image to go on Fox News or CNN. It's like a safer route, I know certain congressmen, they say, yeah, I'll come on the show. They don't want to come on. It's all good. They don't owe me anything. It's not like I care. If they don't want to talk, that's fine. I'm not going to look down on them. But, I think it's even for me, it's like I've gone on some shows because I don't want to censor myself. I'll talk to people that I want to talk to. It doesn't mean I agree with them. It doesn't mean I like everything they say. I just don't want to be pigeonholed into you're only allowed to go on Fox News or Daily Wire. You're not allowed to talk to him. Now I'm a slave to someone else's game. why can't I talk to somebody? Why can't I debate somebody? Why can't I agree with somebody on one thing and disagree on others? So I've gone on plenty of shows that in the back of my head, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have gone on that show, but I never censor myself because it's like, I know that's what a lot of people are doing. It's like, well, you know, if I go on that show, I'm going to look bad. And even though I'm not that bad, now there's different angles of what people think I am. They'll be like, you know, to a normie, it's like Anomaly's too conspiratorial, even though I'm really not. To a right winger that likes Trump, they'll be like, oh, isn't Anomaly that guy who like doesn't like Trump? And that's not true. I just actually believe what I say. And when it comes to vaccine socialism, communist policies, and money printing, it's just not a good idea. So it's more just me challenging his policies and stuff. But, you know, they're like, whoa, that's crazy that, you know, he has a brain and actually uses it. So there's different angles. And now they're trying to push really hard with the anti-Semitism angle. Even though I love Jewish people, I love the people of Israel, it's just, you know, there's good and bad people in every culture, religion, race. And when it comes to when Big Pharma gives money for a specific outcome, that's not anti-pharmatic. Am I anti-pharmatic because I say that Big Pharma pays off both parties? I'm not anti-pharmatic. That's just what Big Pharma does. And I don't blame every Jewish person or all of Israel for certain donors. I'm just saying if a donor gives $100 million to Trump and they say that they want certain foreign policy outcomes or certain laws, and those laws get passed or those foreign outcomes come, that's what's going on. I'm not blaming the whole country. I'm not blaming all people. I'm just saying that's what's going on with the donor money. The donor money is that there's lobbyists. I don't know what to tell you. There's lobbyists from all types, but you know, there's only one group of lobbyists that constantly smear me, defame me, and lie about me. Why is that? Because that group of lobbyists and these groups are pushing to normalize hate speech laws in America. And I don't agree with it. All these things that they're exaggerating about me, I'm sure they would love if they were laws. I'm sure that they would love that you can't criticize media control. You can't say that this is happening. You can't talk about donors. And it's like, okay, you know, like the same way the left would probably criminalize hate speech and be like, oh, it's hate speech to talk about race. It's hate speech to criticize George Floyd. It's hate speech to criticize crime. It's hate speech to build a wall. It's hate speech to disagree with every show being gay. It's like, okay, you know, it might not be right or it might be a bad opinion, but is it hate speech? These are the games that they play, you know, and we already see that. Just, you know, and this is why a lot of people support Trump, because they see the stuff he's going through and it's just annoying. And it's like, you know, I think the hope is for people with Trump is like they're hoping that he actually cares enough to do something about it because they're treating him so badly. If he gets back into power, he'll do something. I hope so too, but it's like I also see how he plays and I'm like, will he do that or is it just kind of a show? You never know, but it is what it is. We'll talk about it another time. God bless you. I'm going to keep this under an hour. Appreciate your support. Appreciate your love. Dream Rare Podcast, today's show. Another success in the books, folks. Thank you for everybody that's becoming a YouTube supporter. Thank you to everybody who's a Facebook supporter. Thanks to everybody who super chats. Thank you to everybody on Patreon. And thank you to everybody who goes to dreamrare.com for my new merch. Check it out. We got some new stuff. It helps a lot. And especially in this, I don't know if it's a recession officially, but whatever this is, you already know that it means more now than ever. But I understand people are doing it less now than ever too, because like eggs are expensive, everything's expensive, and everybody's laying people off. And I see what's going on in the world, so no worries. I'm feeling it just like everyone else, but I appreciate people who show love. Even watching is good enough. Sharing is amazing. So, you know, these are things that are free. When you guys share on Facebook, it helps a lot, trust me, or anything really, Twitter. Appreciate you guys. God bless. I'll be back soon. Hey, what's going on, my friends? Just a few ways to stay in touch and support if you'd like to. The first way is dreamrare.com. We have blue beanies, black beanies, pink hats, other colored hats, freedom versus tyranny shirts, stay blessed long sleeve, God is great long sleeve, and lots of more cool items coming soon. Dreamrare.com. Check out the shop to support. Everything's made in the United States. Handpicked by me. Patreon.com/raretalk for $5 a month. You can help support me. Support the show. If you haven't noticed, unlike other channels, I don't work with very many sponsors, sometimes none at all. And part of the way I'm able to do that is with the dreamrare.com shop and patreon.com/raretalk. So thank you guys for keeping this show free, unimpeded, uninterrupted. I'm forever grateful. grateful. My free email list is stayintouchwithme.com, so check the links below in the description or just type in on any browser stayintouchwithme.com, all one word. You'll find my email list, put it in there, and it's the least annoying email list you'll ever be on. I barely use it because I don't like getting emailed every day or every week. It's annoying, so I don't do it. Stayintouchwithme.com. It helps me take back some power away from big tech. Telegram, t.me/DreamRareChat or @DreamRareChat. Due to censorship, I post all my live stream and videos there. Sometimes I have some bonus content, and I try to give people a heads up when Facebook or YouTube won't. DreamRareChat at Telegram. My Instagram is @DreamRare. Thanks for everybody following there for shorter content. And DreamRareLinks.com, that's DreamRareLinks.com, has all my stuff. My podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, my music on Spotify and Apple, my Rumble page, my BitChute and Gab page. All my links are found at DreamRareLinks.com. Thanks for watching, folks. God bless you. You already know I'll be back with more content soon.